प्रोफेसर तो कूल होते हैं, मतलब दे आर आल्सो कूल।
अरे भाई आपने वो देखा नहीं लगा सास भी कई बहू थी? हाँ, वो सीरियल देखा होगा ना?
यस सर।
अभी प्रोफेसर है तो भाई प्रोफेसर भी तो खुश था ना। द पॉइंट इज दैट there is neither success nor failure. Okay, this is like something invented by mind. So I had decided in high school I want to be a teacher.
ओके, इन हाई स्कूल।
Yeah, even
उस
before
टाइम पे
that,
इतनी क्लैरिटी कैसे थी आपको?
clarity थी because all my family, they were all bureaucrats,
Okay.
government people. And I saw them every day, they are a little depressed, they are saying my boss is so bad, right? Transfer हो गया, ये हो गया, right? I said there is no joy in this life.
यू आर ग्रेट इन एकेडमिक्स फ्रॉम योर चाइल्डहुड एंड या फिर बीच में कोई चमत्कार हुआ?
नहीं, चमत्कार ही होगा। मैं जब अपने नाना के साथ रहता था, देखो ऐसा होता है कि नाना दादा वगैरह होता है ना, वो इतना केयर नहीं करते जितना पेरेंट्स करते हैं। पेरेंट्स बहुत कम्पिटिटिव होते हैं, वो थोड़े इमेच्योर होते हैं। सो नाउ यू आर आस्किंग मी टू कंपेयर whether is it easier to deal with politician or a bureaucrat or a student or your colleagues or your wife or your girlfriend.
इट फील्स लाइक कि ये जो लाइफ जी रहे हैं, मतलब एवरी डे यू आर एट अ न्यू प्लेस। आई थिंक यार दिस इज अ लाइफ दैट अ 20-year-old or 22-year-old want to live, and sir is living that
No,
life.
I love traveling. The word old does not exist in my vocabulary, right? And so when you said, okay, oh, people, the 20-year-old may have this aspiration, I can have the same aspiration. Many people ask me, you don't do any work, right?
देयर इज अ स्टीरियोटाइप, मतलब यहाँ पे आने से पहले आई यूज्ड टू थिंक कि प्रोफेसर है, पढ़ते रहते होंगे, अपना लैब में काम करते होंगे, पर देन यहाँ पे कि प्रोफेसर तो कूल होते हैं, मतलब दैट्स इन वुमेन्स। एंड दूसरा एक जेंडर कंफर्टेबिलिटी। इवन व्हेन आई केम इन फर्स्ट ईयर यहाँ पे, तो आई यूज्ड टू फील लिटिल डिस्कम्फर्ट विद गर्ल्स, मतलब मेरे तो पाँव कांपते थे व्हेन आई यूज्ड टू सिट इन फ्रंट ऑफ गर्ल्स।
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल। No, so of course that because you have not interacted, with diversity.
For example, even in India, like you can't still kiss your wife in public, or you can't hug your wife in public.
Yeah.
So,
and your interaction is always seen as of sexual nature.
sir, don't you think that it will change the whole dynamics of world? For example, जब इतना मशीनों की तरफ जा रहे हैं, तो प्रकृति also react करती है, मतलब प्रकृति tries to maintain the balance. And
हाँ, तो humans का कोई significance बहुत ज़्यादा है नहीं planet Earth पर, ये हमने खुद ही बना लिया है।
So hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Chill Mizaz, and today we have Professor Ashutosh Sharma ji with us. He is a former Secretary DST to Government of India and current President of INSA, and a professor in IIT Kanpur in Department of Chemical Engineering, and a dear friend of mine. Sir, can I call you my friend?
Of course you can't call me your enemy.
Okay.
So friend is good.
Okay, sir, since we both share the same hometown, बिफोर कमिंग हियर मैं पढ़ रहा था आपके बारे में, तो आई हर्ड दैट यू आर बोर्न इन अजमेर. सो यू आर बोर्न एंड ब्रॉट अप इन अजमेर?
Yes. I'm not brought up, I mean, I was born in Ajmer, then I went back to my parents. My father was working in irrigation department of Rajasthan, so he gets transferred everywhere. So then I was with them when I was very young. Then in class 2, I moved to my Nana who used to live in Ajmer. Then from class 2 to 5, I studied in Ajmer until, my father family got more stable, moving around. But basically in 11 years of schooling, in those days it was 11, not 12 years. 11 years of schooling, I changed 8 or 9 schools. And so I was all over. Even more interesting was that one year it may be Rajasthan board and Hindi medium. In other year it was the central board and English medium. And so new friends, new teachers, new everything was very good. It's very enriching experience. Most people hate change. But the best part of my life has happened only when there is change, that there is acceptance of change, there is understanding of change, and that's also the understanding of diversity and negotiating life under different circumstances and all of that. So it gives you resilience, it gives you robustness, if you would, and it gives you understanding of people. I can never see my life growing up with the same bunch of people all through school or even going to college with the same bunch, which happens a lot nowadays because there is no learning in that. Anyhow, they say we are drifting away to something else. But yes, so I was there all over Rajasthan in many places until high school. After 11th, I came to IIT Kanpur. I was 16 years old at that time. And so that's my Rajasthan journey indeed.
सर बचपन से इतने चापू थे मतलब यू आर ग्रेट इन एकेडमिक्स फ्रॉम योर चाइल्डहुड एंड या फिर बीच में कोई चमत्कार हुआ?
नहीं, चमत्कार ही होगा। मैं जब अपने नाना के साथ रहता था, देखो ऐसा होता है कि नाना दादा वगैरह होता है ना, वो इतना केयर नहीं करते जितना पेरेंट्स करते हैं। पेरेंट्स बहुत कम्पिटिटिव होते हैं, वो थोड़े इमेच्योर होते हैं। उनको कुछ वो सोचते हैं कि ये बच्चे को फर्स्ट आना चाहिए, ऐसा होना चाहिए, राइट? दे अंडर प्रेशर एंड दे ट्रांसमिट दैट प्रेशर टू देयर चिल्ड्रन। मेरे साथ ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी। तो मैं जब नाना के साथ रहता था तो वो उन्होंने मेरे को बिल्कुल छोड़ रखा था। कहा था कि पढ़ाई जितना करना चाहो करो, ना करो। मेरे 2nd डिवीज़न आती थी, लेकिन किसी ने मेरे को ये नहीं कहा कि 7th डिवीज़न क्यों आती है, राइट? 2nd डिवीज़न। तो आई थिंक वी नीड दैट फ्रीडम। आई थिंक अ यंग माइंड नीड्स दैट फ्रीडम टू बी हिज और हर ओन मास्टर. Okay, we are not proxies for our parents. We are not proxies for our teachers, right? We are not living their life. So we need to figure our life, and to do that, you need freedom. So I was very fortunate. I was incredibly fortunate in having that freedom all through my life. Okay, so nobody ever told me, well, I should do this or I should become that or something. By high school. So anyway, I was later very good. My final, I finished in 11th standard in Rajasthan board. I was number 2 in Rajasthan board in science subjects.
Okay.
So it's clear that I go from 2nd division to 2nd position. So which was quite a journey. But it's not, you decide what you want to do. Anyhow, there was no coaching in those days in Rajasthan. I mean, for JEE, right? You didn't know.
सर ये हम बात करें 1980s की?
नहीं,
70s.
77.
Okay.
77. I came here 5-year program. 77 to 82. So in the 70s, there were only coaching in metros, right? Delhi, Bombay वगैरह में था. वहाँ कुछ नहीं था, which was a good thing because then you don't waste your summers. Right, you go, you hang around, do some lot of fun activities. I used to read one novel every day, and so it enriched your life, and you didn't have to worry about getting into some college or something because there was no coaching. So I think it's more level playing field, right? I mean, if you can succeed, anybody else can succeed too, without actually going through the grind of coaching. And I think it gives you creativity. I mean, all my creativity and independent thinking, it came by reading variety of sources, every possible thing. I must have read everything from, let's say, Mahabharata I finished by the time I was in 4th standard. The original, 18 volume Gita Press Gorakhpur set. तो 2-3 बार पढ़ लिया था तब तक। और वो उपनिषद पढ़ लिया, वेद पुराण सब पढ़ लिया, बाकी सारे वेस्टर्न नॉवेल्स पढ़ लिए, रशियन लिटरेचर पढ़ लिया, अमेरिकन लिटरेचर पढ़ लिया, हेमिंगवे पढ़ लिया, सब कुछ पढ़ लिया। ओके, फिर उसके बाद कार्ल मार्क्स पढ़ लिया, लेनिन पढ़ लिया, लेफ्ट पढ़ लिया, राइट पढ़ लिया, बीच का पढ़ लिया, सब हो गया, राइट?
ये सब कॉलेज आने से पहले?
कॉलेज आने से पहले सब खत्म हो गया था। कॉलेज में यहाँ पर मतलब IIT में first 2 years I was still reading lot of outside books. In fact, I remember I bunked almost all the labs in first year. Okay, because ये होता है TA 101 technical drawing.
Yes sir.
Technical drawing. तो उसमें क्या है कि lab has lot of weightage. जैसे ही दूसरा था एक वो engineering something design. So they had like 50% lab weightage and stuff. But I had no interest in it. I said, yeah, drawing parallel lines and all that stuff, why is it important for me? It must be important. I'm not questioning the importance of courses, right? I'm saying it didn't appeal to me. So I said, look, I can make use of this time by not being there. And I'm sure I missed out on some technical skills because of that. But the point I want to bring out is not whether that is good or bad. I'm saying you be your own decision maker. And so you use that time for something else. And if there's a price to pay for it, you must be willing and happy to pay it and not crib or bitch about it, right? It's your fault if you're getting a D, right? Because you decide not to play the game, you must pay the price. I was perfectly happy to pay that price. While I never failed, I got few D's. These courses which are, of not interest to me. Even then, I finally graduated with a CPI of 9.3 or something. So it was not, big deal. Okay, you get few D's, but then you get something in return for the hours that you did not study that course, right? I think I must be reading Sartre or Kafka or Camus, or what it's called, all sorts of people, right? And I think it enriched my life in many ways, which drawing parallel lines would not have. Okay. And so again, I emphasize I'm not telling anybody they should bunk classes. Okay. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, if you love it, you like it, you do what you, and if you don't do something which you are prescribed to do, there may be a cost for it. And you should be quite willing and happy, in fact, quite understanding to pay that price. Willingly, happily, so to say, right? And not blaming anybody. You cannot blame anybody for any of your actions and anything that we do, the choices that we make, which is why I never have any regret of any kind ever in my life. Because everything I did is my choice, right? And there's another point. A lot of people say, they ask you, they say, hey, not about only regret, could you have done something different, or would you have led a different life? So one point is that, you explain to them that this question is totally silly. It does not arise, in fact. The reason is, if you live life in a different way, you made a different choice, you don't know 10 years down the road whether that choice would have been good or worse. You cannot predict, right? Life is not an experiment which you can redo. Okay, it's not a controlled experiment. So you cannot redo and say, hey, would it turn out to be better? Would it turn out to be worse? Cannot. So therefore, this whole question about different path taken or regret or anything that's totally meaningless, actually has no value at all. This happens only when you listen to other people and then do according to what they're telling you. Okay, then you say, Arey yaar, I wish I had not listened to these people, right? I should have done this, I should have done that. And people are talking like that all the time. And even if they're not talking, they're thinking like that. I know, right? So, these are my younger friends. I always try to explain some of these key lessons of life. He's saying, do not compare. See, there's a question people often ask me. So when I went from here to a government job, they say, hey, what is better, the professor or secretary? Then when I come back also, they ask me the same reverse question. That job is better or this job is better?
So my question is different. Sir,
I know your question is different.
नहीं सर डिफिकल्ट मतलब किसके साथ डील करना ज़्यादा डिफिकल्ट है, पॉलिटिशियंस और स्टूडेंट्स?
Politicians, students? What do you mean?
सर अभी ये सेड ना कि मतलब लोग आपको बोलते हैं कि आप ज़्यादा प्रोफेसर बेटर है या फिर आप ज़्यादा सेक्रेटरी ज़्यादा बेटर है, तो उसी तरीके से आई आज की डील करना किसके साथ ज़्यादा मुश्किल है, स्टूडेंट्स और प्रोफेसर्स? Sorry.
No. Perfect. I understand the question now. You see, everything has a different challenge. And in fact, what I was telling you has a direct bearing on this question. So it's not actually off. Because I'm saying I don't compare. Okay? So now you're asking me to compare. Whether is it easier to deal with politician or a bureaucrat or a student or your colleagues or your wife or your girlfriend? You're asking that question,
Yes,
right?
sir.
I am saying you cannot compare. right? Because each one of these relations bring a different challenge. Okay, and so when you are doing that, then you are focused on that. When you're doing this, you're focused on this, right? And you're not comparing. So similarly, if somebody say, hey, is that job better? Is that more fulfilling? Is that more complicated? No, every job is the same. Okay, it's just that it brings, on surface, it looks like it brings different challenges. That's actually surface. But you dig a little bit deeper, it requires skills which are similar, okay, to deal with different situations and different people. Everybody is human. It's just that we have different background, we have different conditioning, we have different expectations, right? And so nature of job may change, but that's only technical point, because you learn new things, right? If the nature of job is different, you learn that nature, right? But many basic things remain the same. You see, I'm saying, do you have intelligence to learn new things? Do you have emotional quotient to deal with change? Do you have empathy? Okay. Do you have, so those are the basic skills which do not change whether you are a professor or you are a politician or you are something, but you need to emphasize different aspects sometimes of how you do it, right? I have never had any problem neither with students nor with politicians nor with bureaucrats or anybody. Oftentimes, if you go Delhi, go to ministries, you would hear a lot of horror stories about what is called a finance division of ministries and what is called financial advisor. And almost every secretary, some point or other, they would say is very difficult, do all stuff, right? I can honestly say I've never had any problem, okay, with this aspect or other aspects also. You see, point is, when you are frank in your communication, and after a while people see that you don't have a hidden agenda. Anybody can see after a while that he is not self-serving. This is very important. Okay, anybody that you interact with sees that what you are doing is self-serving, right? You are not discharging your duty, right? Then you would, there'll be conflict. People would not actually trust you. Trust is very important. Right? So I may have my capability is what it is. I cannot change it 100%. But I can change the human qualities, which means, that you connect with people, right? This is so important because at the end of the day, people are humans first, and later they are all these things: engineers, politicians, professors, students, what have you, right? So this fundamental understanding of life is so important. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, right? There are two different aspects. One is the technical skills. Again, I would say, like I said, nature of the job, operational aspects. Those are all can be learned. How files move, what happens, how do you do this, what is cabinet note, all that you need to learn, right? But you must have the capacity and passion to learn, and in fact, passion for change. So one welcomes change and say, hey, this I didn't know. So even today, if I learn something new, I want to learn few things new every day. And if I'm not done that, then I think, hey, I think today day was not very good, right? Because I know all this, but I should know something different today. Now, to learn something different, you also have to talk to people who are very unlike you, right? Most of us feel comfortable talking to people who are like us, right? Similar age group, similar background, education, similar region of the world that we come from, similar food we eat, and all of that, right? And so it sometimes linguistic, I say, I speak the language, I only hang around with my kind of people, right? That would be a grave mistake. Totally. In fact, why would I want to talk to people who are like me? Because I already know them, right? The only reason I talk to those people is because I feel psychological comfort in it, which means I don't want to change. I know how to deal with these people. I know what their background is, what their expectations and what their views are, right? So I don't have no friction. And so therefore, so people want that instead of saying, I want to learn something new and I want to change and I want to apply that, new knowledge in different situations. That is all is called common sense and creativity, both. Now, education would never prepare you for that. Okay, common sense is totally uncommon in education. And creativity, because it doesn't pay, so it is suppressed from early days. Similarly, independent thinking, similarly, critical thinking, all of those things which actually really matter in life are actually suppressed during education. So anything which is not rewarded, because none of these qualities are rewarded in exams. And finally, I mean, you get into IIT anywhere is by doing what? By cracking exams. So what happens is, since any of these qualities are not rewarded, they go extinct. And then it's very difficult for people to understand later that, look, okay, just designing heat exchanger or something, not enough. Okay, and really not that important. Often, I mean, students, I would try to tell them that, look, content of the course that I teach are not important. Okay. Now, this is very difficult for people to understand because either they have some interest in it, don't have interest in it, or in any case, they think like, okay, designing, so whatever, you're teaching, the course is the most important thing in life. Actually, it's not. So, what is important? The meaning of education is not its content. It is the capacity to learn and solve problems based on that learning. So tomorrow's challenges will be different than my challenges. Many of those challenges are of societal nature, many of the challenges are of family level, many challenges are dealing with the organizational behavior, many challenges are of new science and technology. Suddenly you get AI, you start worrying about sustainability, you start worrying about climate change, start worrying about globalization. All of these are not concerns 20 years ago, right? Machine learning, nothing. What impact is going to have on your life and on society and everything? Nobody had, even today, nobody had an understanding of that. So it is about adapting to change. It's understanding change first, how it's going to impact your life and other people's lives that you have interest in. So what textbook actually that I have learned in my BTech would actually tell me any of this? Nothing, zero. Right?
बट स्टिल वो जो एक चेंज है वो अभी तक इतना आ नहीं पाया है. मतलब वी आर फोकसिंग मोर ऑन एकेडमिक्स. इवन जो पेरेंट्स होते हैं कि ओके डू दिस एंड गेट ऑन द फर्स्ट पोजीशन एंड ऑल, जो सेटिस्फेक्शन में नहीं आता है, इट इज स्टिल देयर. सो इसका सॉल्यूशन क्या है?
अरे इसका सॉल्यूशन आपके पास ही है, पेरेंट्स के पास थोड़ी है. अरे अभी आप अगर यू लुक फॉर, यू हैव अ प्रॉब्लम एंड यू लुक फॉर सॉल्यूशन आउटसाइड, राइट? दिस इज ऑल रॉन्ग. You listen to parents, you do as you wish. What are you doing, right? So it's not important that parents know everything. Nobody knows anything. Okay, the fact is, अच्छा parents को देखो, अभी चल रहा है, अभी वो काउंसलिंग चल रही है. lot of people call me, वो कोई दूर के रिलेटिव हैं, फ्रेंड्स हैं, वो कहेंगे कि ये ब्रांच उस जगह लेनी है या वो ब्रांच उस जगह लेनी है,
किसमें ज़्यादा स्कोप
है, और वो भी मतलब कि क्या ये रैंक है तो ये मिलेगा, राइट? ये कहाँ से आता है कि ये रैंक है तो ये मिलेगा? किसी को पता नहीं है. पहले से चला आ रहा है, 10 साल से, 50 साल से चला आ रहा है, तो वो कहते हैं कि ये रैंक है तो ये मिलेगा. अब उसके अंदर पीपल हैव नॉट थॉट एनीथिंग अबाउट हु दे आर, व्हाट इज इट, कौन सा स्कोप का क्या मतलब है. I used to be always amused about this question if I was in counseling. तो पेरेंट आए कहेंगे, हाँ डॉक्टर साहब क्या स्कोप है, ज़्यादा है. तो ऐसे लोग स्कोप का मतलब होता है कि वो पॉलिसी मेकर्स के लिए होता है कि उसमें 10,000 जॉब होंगी, 1,00,000 जॉब होंगी, कितनी जॉब होंगी उस एरिया में, राइट? फॉर वन पर्सन यू डोंट टॉक अबाउट स्कोप. दैट वन पर्सन विल डू ग्रेट नो मैटर इन विच एरिया दैट पर्सन इज, only if that person is capable, right? मीडिया का जॉब सबको मिल जाएगी, मीडिया का लाइफ भी निकल जाएगी, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. वो किसी भी ब्रांच में हो जाएगा, right? But now it's time for you to actually ask yourself, have you even thought about it? कि what is this thing all about, you know, ये मेटलर्जी क्या है, ये सिविल इंजीनियरिंग क्या है, धनबाद क्या है, BHU क्या है, right? कुछ नहीं है. Nobody, they will never go to what they consider to be a lower branch, right? They will say, this is the best I'm getting, right? Now, what is the meaning of that best they are getting, right? There is no meaning to it at all. So, in fact, you can, I'll give you my example. So, I could get, in those days, electrical used to be top branch. And I was getting it. And by the way, IIT Kanpur is number one in all the IITs. For a very long time, not just when I was a student, until I would say early 90s, mid 90s. All polls, whether India Today, anybody, Kanpur was always number one, right? So, so what I was saying is that, what was I saying? Why was I saying this?
Branch, the scope.
Branch का है ना. So I was getting actually at that time considered electrical to be top branch. There was no computer science. I was getting it in IIT Delhi. I was getting in Kanpur. I took chemical engineering, right? And in fact, I came to Kanpur, even though Delhi would have been closer, right? And people said, Delhi jao, aram se Jaipur se jana. No, I made my own decision. So first I visited the campus, IIT Delhi. Then I visited here. IIT Delhi in those days was like a desert, you know, and you know, hot June, and the wind blew, and there is this dirt flying all over the place. When I came here, it was green. That I just decided that I like this campus better, right? Even I like the buildings here better. Okay, I like the people here better. So I said, I come here, but it's a little bit farther from Jaipur. Right? In those days, you had to change trains in Agra, Kundla, something, right? And go there. Never mind. Question is, I'll give you, okay, just to conclude this part. You said कि उसमें वो कोई आदमी कुछ बोलता है, कोई आदमी बोलता है, क्या करेंगे, right? You do your own analysis, listen to everybody, do your own analysis, see what you like. You only have one life to live. It'll soon be over. So if you had listened to 10 people who themselves don't know anything, okay, then I mean, what can be more foolish than that? I'll give you another example. So after I did my master's at Penn State, then I had applied elsewhere. So I had an offer from MIT and from UPenn and few other places. I decided to go to a place called SUNY Buffalo, which is not considered in the same league as other universities which I had offers from. So obviously people said, you go MIT or whatever. I said, no, but I need to check out. I wanted to work with a particular professor in a particular area. And so that was in that particular area, he was the most well-known guy who was actually in SUNY Buffalo. I said, this is not bachelor's, this is PhD, which means that, you know, it's not the label that matters, but what you do, research. So I just discarded everybody's opinion. People say, are you crazy? I said, look, it's like this. If you have no confidence, you go by the rankings of others. Okay, if you are your own man, you go by your own ranking. Nobody gives a damn. The whole world doesn't give a damn about what you do, right? The whole point is that you give a damn and you want to do this. So I had decided in high school I want to be a teacher.
Okay, in high school.
Yeah, even
उस
before
टाइम
that.
पे इतनी क्लैरिटी कैसे थी आपको?
Clarity थी because all my family, they were all bureaucrats, government people. And I saw them every day, they are a little depressed, they are saying my boss is so bad, right? Transfer हो गया, ये हो गया, right? I said there's no joy in this life. I want a profession in which there is no boss.
Okay.
That's my criterion. Okay, and so I figured being a teacher means you don't have a boss, right? And so believe it or not, this was my criterion for deciding about what I wanted to do in life. So then I came to IIT, then I said, this is a good place to become a teacher. Okay, looks cool, good, and to do that I need to do PhD. and do PhD abroad because then you have no problem coming back here. So it all worked out exactly according to my plan. No hitch at all. Until now, also, it's been like that. Okay, I have been forever prepared to be a professor and to retire as one. I'm going to retire as one. In between, some very strange twist of fate happened. So I got picked up in the Secretary Department of Science and Technology in Delhi. Even today, I have no clue why, how. Those days I was away from here, but I said I'll become professor again after my term is over.
Okay.
So then that's why I came back here. I had other possibilities to continue as a bureaucrat in other until 65, age of 65. But I had no interest in that. So what I was trying to illustrate with these examples, it's not like I'm proud of all this or I'm saying something about me. It's not about me. It's about how you think. It's about how you run your life, right? I mean, many people is saying, look, I want to run my life. I want to make these many million. I want to have these companies. These are all very legitimate.
Sir, we make decisions according to circumstances. मतलब हालात के according अपने decisions लेते हैं.
हालात भी है, but आप अपने हालात बना भी सकते हैं. So there are two kind of people, okay? तो उसमें क्या है कि एक जैसे आपका वो है पत्ता आके गिरा, जहाँ हवा चल रही है वहाँ चला जाएगा, राइट? ऐसे कि एक पेपर बोट है जो वो लहरों पे है, तो वो इट्स एट द मर्सी ऑफ वेव्स, राइट? That is also one way to live. I mean, there's nothing particularly unique or wrong about it, right? Or you can say, look, मैं थोड़ा उसमें पेपर बोट में इंजन लगाऊंगा, तो I will go my way, okay? So world is like this. You see, world is like a very dense procession going through a narrow street. Now, you can just be with these people going at their rate, or you find your way around and move. Okay. So, circumstances, of course you're right. That circumstances, there are many things which are much bigger than us, which you cannot change. Isn't it? But you can always change yourself. Even in the worst possible situation in your life, you cannot say that I'm at the mercy of others. You're only at the mercy of your own mind and nobody else, right? Okay, so this is very simple. I'm not saying something mysterious. Some people think there's something, I don't know, what you're saying is philosophical. Hey, there would be a first reaction, right? I understand that. Now, anything we discuss here is not theoretical. It is not philosophy. In that sense, I mean, philosophy, of course, good, is a high knowledge. But what I'm saying is not something which is mystical, which is not practical, is how people argue about it. Right?
Sir, after all this, do you believe in destiny? मतलब after seeing your journey,
Yeah,
starting से मतलब you have been professor here, then you have been DST secretary, then you are here. So do you believe in destiny?
So I don't know what destiny means, but I'll tell you this. So a lot of younger people, many of me also, I'll sometime will say, hey, this world is so unfair. They say, because despite our best efforts, we may not succeed. Happens all the time, right? So I set my eyes on this, I do this, and in fact, I may be totally capable, but I may fail, right? So people get a little bit disturbed. They say, world is not fair. I didn't get this job. This stupid guy, he got the job, right? All this happens all the time, right? Every day around us.
Sir, any incidents जहाँ पे you have failed or you have
No, I will
like
come
that?
to that point separately.
Okay.
But to complete this point, you talked about destiny. So I say, look, I tell people that don't be depressed or feel bad or blame the world or be cynical or be negative, because you deserve to be successful, but you were not successful, right? But despite that, don't become negative, right? Why? Because I call it, quote unquote, luck. Okay. Now people say this is very unscientific. No, it's not unscientific. Luck actually is the complexity of this world and life. which we neither understand fully nor control. Okay, because everything happens with so many factors contributing to it. It's like, if you don't know, in science chaos theory with 3 degrees of freedom and non-linearity, you cannot predict. Okay, so even with deterministic laws of nature, for sufficiently long time, you cannot predict the trajectory unless you know the initial condition with infinitesimal precision, which is not life. Okay, so therefore, what you call destiny, what I call luck, it is not the luck that people see in stars. Maybe there is something in stars. I have not probed that very deeply, but there is luck. You can see. I mean, what happens in your life, what happens in your friend's life, what happens in anybody's life is empirical fact. This is what we ascribe to luck, right? Because we have not understood where this came from, and we don't know how to control it. This is what is called luck, and this is because the complexity, whether you call it physical laws, whatever, but that complexity of this world and life, too many degrees of freedom, right? So now you were talking about the failure, the second point, right? The point is that there is neither success nor failure. Okay, this is like something invented by mind. Okay, there's no notion of failure, right? So what is failure? Failure is just something little mechanical. It basically means, look, I was preparing for this exam and I didn't get through the exam. So in that technical sense, you can say that this is a failure. It doesn't mean that you are a failure. Okay, you could not get that particular work done, right? But life is far more than that particular work that you set out to do, right? So while technically, I mean, a robot will mark it saying it's a failure, right? We should never believe that there is such a thing as failure, because life keeps moving. And so he says some failure, and sometimes you actually don't know whether failure is a blessing. Many people believe that what they got in life is what defines their life. Also, what we did not get in life also equally defines our life. Don't forget. Okay? Because the absence, that has consequences, that has implications, right? What you did not get has implications for your future as much as what you got. Okay? So now you cannot say that because you failed in this task, that you actually failed in your life. Because maybe it created opportunities elsewhere, which you would not have got if you had succeeded in that. And this happens, you can see life around so many times happen. Somebody dropped out of high school and then became a billionaire, right? Now you cannot say ki if he had done, what would he have become, right? So it looked like it was a failure, but it creates new opportunities. Every failure creates new opportunities. Whole point is whether you understand what those opportunities are and not be negative about it. Success is equally imaginary. So what happens is success and failure, they happen every day. And success turns into failure, failure turns into success. And both of them are basically transient. They don't have any permanence. Okay. So therefore, one moment you may be a little depressed, other moment one may be a little bit elated. But either way makes not much difference.
So then what should be our attitude to live a life? Like in those moments we feel depressed, then how to cope up with failures? What called failures?
Yeah, I'm saying that the coping mechanism is only in the mind. It's not in the world outside. So some people think that, you see, okay, when people are, let us say, now feeling good, let's go do some shopping. Right? थोड़ा गम गलत करेंगे कुछ, या ना दोस्तों से बात करेंगे कुछ करेंगे. That is all fine. There's some psychological ways of dealing with it. तो आप जाएंगे किसी साइकेट्रिस्ट के पास तो वो भी ये सब बताएगा. ज़्यादा कुछ होगा तो कुछ केमिकल्स देगा, right? Everything that happens in life, to deal with it, the key is only in the mind, your mind, not my mind, right? And so you say, "Arey, हाँ, success, failure, this is all good, I mean, now what is past is gone. Okay, it actually doesn't even exist. Now, so I may sound a little philosophical, but it's not that. You see, the past is only in your neurons. It has no independent existence. It's a memory, right? Past is a memory. Point is, can you deal with that memory, right? While you're looking at the future, so fact is that people never live in the present. Actually, there's no present either, and there's no future. We have not yet come, and the past doesn't exist because it's in only memory, and these are rewritable memories. So you can alter your past, right? So you can say you can turn a depressing event actually into a happy event by rewriting your memories. Try it, you can do it. It's not theoretical, right? Acha, another thing that people don't understand about all of this is that people think, especially scientists, we have been trained in a particular way, which means cause and effect, right? So they say, look, what happened in the past determines my present, isn't it? But actually, in life, there is also a cause and effect coming from future. So the future determines my present. Why? Because it's so simple that you want to crack JE, and that's why you're studying now. The cracking of JE is in the future, right? So your future desires actually reach out to the present and have physical consequences. So what happens is the mind works on physical when it's coming from future to present. From past to present is what material cause and effect works. Okay, the laws of physics. So I dropped a ball, then it'll hit it now, right? But why would I drop a ball in the present? Because I have some future plans. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So you see this way of thinking that the arrow of causation works only from past to present is a totally wrong thinking. Actually, much of our life is determined by our plans for the future. And so when I say life is determined, you see, if I say, oh, I raised this cup now, what will explain that? What science will explain as to why we are sitting here together talking to each other? Or I decide to raise this cup now? Nothing will explain, right? So therefore, science has a domain in which it works. It cannot work for everything. And so the reason I'm saying this, when you said if you have a problem, what do? When you have a problem, you go inside. Okay, because the solution to that problem is over there. It's not in science. It is not in the external world. There are some solutions to an external world. If I'm feeling hot, I turn on the AC. Right? So that's a external world solution. Right? But I may be sitting in AC, but I may be very upset about things. Right? And so that solution is not there. There's another aspect. This is called another aspect. See, most fundamental aspect. What is it that people are looking for? If you can answer me that. All your questions will be answered. You'll have no more questions. Okay. What are you looking for?
Sir, happiness, pleasure.
Yeah, happiness. First thing people are looking for is roti, kapda, and makan.
Basic needs, sir. These are the
Basic needs, physiological needs. Then people are looking for needs of security. People are looking for needs of belongingness. People are looking for needs of social interactions, right? With the rise of social media and everything, right? Then being connected, right? After that, people are looking at self-satisfaction, sense of achievement, what you called happiness, what you called many other things. This is called Maslow's hierarchical model of motivation or what people look for.
People are not संतुष्ट, मतलब किसी के पास कुछ है तो they always want
संतुष्ट हो ही
more.
नहीं सकते. I will tell you, and this is the question I was coming to. Why they are not santusht? Because you see, there is a pyramidal model of needs. So at the lower needs are called roti, kapda, makan. There's this need to be connected, need to be in social media, need to have security. All of these needs can be addressed effectively by technology or the external world. as you go higher, so all these needs are called deficiency needs. Then other things, once you have taken care of deficiency needs, then you have growth needs, right? So growth needs, sometimes they're called spiritual in nature. Sometimes they're defined in different ways. People are looking for something, right? Now, thing to realize is this is very simple, that those needs cannot be satisfied by technology. So the grave mistake that current civilization has done is by saying that by creating all this technology outside, I will be able to satisfy all my needs by greater consumption, by greater technology. That assumption is not proved right. Okay, it's an assumption. And this assumption has been around because people don't know any better. So whole point is, I want to be happy. I'm saying I want to feel this sense of achievement. What should I do? Right? Now, because people have not understood that that there are other things to do other than buying a BMW. Right? So I'm saying, if they're saying, how do I feel happy today? Can I buy another car? Okay. So while it'll give a transient sense of euphoria, okay, after 3 days back to the same thing.
Yes sir, sometimes I think कि इतने billionaire लोग हैं, मतलब why they are doing again so much work, मतलब you should enjoy, you should go out and.
But that is the sense that they.
But a man is a working man. There is a famous.
But they think enjoyment means this only, right? See, the current civilization has exposed people only to certain options. Okay, and especially one of the options which is now very prevalent and very deep-rooted is equating level of consumption with happiness. This is an assumption which, again, I'm saying other civilizations had other assumptions. Okay, now if you say, look, what is an advanced civilization? Is it a yogi who's sitting here feeling happy? Or is it this bhogi here who's got $1 billion and many cars, right? How do we judge what is a more advanced human civilization? There is no unique answer to this, right? You may say, look, even today, a lot of people say, Egypt had a lot of these big pyramids, but there are no pyramids in India, right? So you say, did we have advanced civilization? Because there are no pyramids, right? There is no advanced technology found here, right? This is totally a wrong question, because there is a thing which is called inner technology and there is a thing which is called external technology. And excellence in one then necessarily translate into excellence in the other, right? So it's a question of what is it that you emphasize, okay? Actually, the fact is that any human being or any civilization which emphasizes only one at the expense of other is an imbalanced person or civilization. And actually it will perish.
Sir, यहाँ से मतलब अभी we have talked that much. What are your aspirations? अभी से is still something left that you want to achieve?
I never had any aspiration, not now, ever. Except to say,
You are
why I want
संतुष्ट.
to become a teacher. Yeah, absolutely. Never any doubt about that.
Sir, seeing your journey जब मैं आपको देखता हूँ तो मतलब it feels like कि ये जो लाइफ जी रहे हैं, मतलब every day you are at a new place. I think this is a life that a 20-year-old or 22-year-old want to live, and sir is living that life.
I love traveling. Unfortunately, a little bit less now. I love traveling while doing work. Okay, I travel for work mostly. But on the side, you meet a lot of new people, a lot of learning opportunities. You do all that. Yeah. It's not about age. Hey, by the way, also I tell people very like in convocations and stuff, I say, don't make the mistake of thinking or saying that there is some old person. There are no old people in this world. There are young people like me and younger people like you.
Okay.
I'm very clear about this. There are no old people in this world. Of course, there are people younger than you who are calling you old. Right? Or you talk to an 8-year-old. right?
Recently, I went to village and some kids came and they touched my feet. So I realized
Exactly.
that I
You are
become
old.
old.
So no, they know. In fact, in Indian National Science Academy, that I'm a president now. So we created to have more representation of younger people in that. So we created an associate fellow category and so on. And in fact, I told them that they call Indian National Young Science something. I said it's not young, it's younger. Okay, but young to मैं भी हूँ, but you will not let me join this, right? so their definition of young means whatever number of years, 40 or whatever, 35. There's a cutoff when you cease to be young, right? This is a total misconception. So I think the right way to think about it is that a young and younger. No, I never ask anybody how old you are. Either you say what is your age, or you say when were you born, right? So the word old does not exist in my vocabulary, right? And so when you said, okay, people, the 20-year-old may have this aspiration, I can have the same aspiration, and I'm not ashamed of it. Okay.
Sorry, I feel so good, like the life you live, like. Okay.
No, it's not about feeling good. I'm saying we have produced a model in this civilization which has gone horribly wrong. Okay, and you will see the effects of it. I mean, when we talk about, let's say global warming, what is it? This is an external manifestation of our assumptions about consumption equaling happiness. Where did all this come from? It comes from that, right? We have not challenged that assumption. We have not said, look, what is the way? This is not a denial of technology. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you should not have technology. That would be stupid to say that, right? I'm saying one needs a balance. One needs an understanding of what is inside and what is outside, and where is the harmony between the two. What kind of stuff you can address by inside, what can address by outside, right? And not to confuse between these two domains, right? And to say, because it become fashionable, people who know very little science, they are not even good scientists, right? They would say, nah, what does it mean? All this meditation, yoga, what does it mean, right? We become judgmental without knowing anything, right? So I was saying, look, you still do exercise, right? You may be a scientist, but you want a good body. You want some kind of, chemicals in your brain. Then you do jogging, isn't it? You do all that. So you can, so for certain kind of things, you need to do yoga and meditation. For certain kind of things, you need air conditioning. And all of that is required, right? There's no point saying, there's pseudoscience, there's some guru, there's something, right? So that contempt actually automatically develops in our kids because they are taught in the wrong way. They have not understood anything about balance of life. And so it's a recipe for disaster. So people are working like mules, right? From morning to night in this corporation, right? The god of neon and green paper, right? Everybody is sacrificing at the altar of that god their lives, right? So, and I often hear this question more and more. I say, how do you do work-life balance? Right?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that a question? Many people ask me that, especially if they see my post or something, and they say, "Oh, but you seem to be, enjoying yourself." Many people ask me, "You don't do any work, right?"
Sir, there is a stereotype. मतलब यहाँ पे आने से पहले I used to think कि प्रोफेसर है, पढ़ते रहते होंगे, अपने लैब में काम करते होंगे, पर देन यहाँ पे कि प्रोफेसर तो कूल होते हैं, मतलब they are also cool.
अरे भाई, आपने वो देखा नहीं लगा, सास भी कई बहू थी। हाँ, वो सीरियल देखा होगा ना?
Yes, sir.
अभी प्रोफेसर है तो भाई प्रोफेसर भी तो खुश था ना, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's why I'm telling you, they know old people. They are stereotypes, but also it has a practical meaning. And practical meaning, I'll tell you. See, when you have a stereotype, you actually cannot be effective in dealing with that person because you're not dealing with that person at all. You're dealing with a stereotype, like professor. So what will happen is anybody comes to my office, in my professor's office, they're a little bit reluctant, they're a little bit hesitant, they're a little bit on guard, right? So the interaction is a little bit artificial, right? And so it's because of the stereotype. Different professors may be different, totally, right? Some may like to have more authority, some may like to appear to be serious, some may be whatever, I don't know, right? But you cannot have a single stereotype for a professor because that's counterproductive, because then you will not be able to deal with that person on his or her own turf, right? So that is why I'm saying that when I think of somebody as old or young, then I have a particular way of dealing with it, right? So I'm not able to deal with the full spectrum I cannot engage with the full spectrum of that person because it's very narrow. That spectrum that I'm dealing with, that image is very narrow, right? So it is a practical thing that I'm talking about. I am very happy dealing with 5-year-olds. Okay, I'm totally comfortable. Okay, and most people will ignore them. Even an 8-year-old will ignore a 5-year-old. You know why? Because they think they are so much superior. Okay, I cannot be seen with these people, right? What will these people say? Are you are playing with 5-year-old? Wow, horrible. And then similarly, so what happens is that we are restricted in terms of our age interactions, which is a very bad thing because the learning happens only across ages. It does not happen by confining myself to all the people who are my age, because we all know the same thing. Again, I would come back to the same question again. You see, there are a lot of people, we all criticize something or other, we are unhappy about something. When I joined IIT in 90 as a professor, so I was like 29 years old or something like that. And all these people who are joined together around that time, similar age and expectations about their life, career and all that. So we'll all get together 3 times a day, drink a lot of tea together, do some gossip. Then we, obviously there'll be a lot of criticism of everything. Then say all these old people, no? They're no good, all the deans and directors, head and all. They are not, because they're old. They don't understand us. And they stop our growth, right? Now what happened when I became less young? I get together with those people who are less young, and we all criticize the younger people. When I was younger, I was criticizing less young people. But now I'm less young, so I criticize younger people. See, so never take your criticism seriously.
Okay.
Right? The whole moral of the story is I never take it seriously. Okay, I say, ये तो ठीक है, it's good, for good times. ठीक है, उसकी gossip करो, कुछ करो, right? But I don't believe in any of that, right? At the end of the day. So, because I'm telling you from experience, now people who are 60, they would criticize 16-year-olds or 20-year-old or our new faculty. They'll say, इनको कुछ पता नहीं है, ये आप इनको कुछ नहीं है.
सर ये तो हमारे साथ भी होता है, जब नया बेच आता है तो इससे कि क्या बेच आया है.
और आपका तो डिफरेंस 3 साल का है.
Exactly.
Now imagine 30-year difference, right? Anyway, what I find is anybody, I am comfortable with everybody, and mostly people are comfortable with me. Okay, they can tell me anything they want. I'm not offended. Okay, about anything. So they can say DST में कुछ काम नहीं हो रहा, आप नहीं कर रहे, ये है वो है, जो भी हो जाए, right? I don't take it personally. Okay, people have legitimate concerns, and they have to voice their opinion about things. I know what I'm doing. Okay, I know what can be done, what cannot be done, right? So there is no, if it can be done, you do it, right? But there is no point in taking it personally. Okay, so a lot of criticism that we have about things is born of not understanding, right? Ignorance. basically, right? And ignorance comes because I have not dealt with very wide spectrum of situations and people, right? That ignorance comes because I don't understand you at all, where you come from, what kind of food you eat, right? So that is why having a wide spectrum of experiences and people, now what I mean by different people is across ages, across gender. Now you see, when I just came into IIT, there were like 3 girls in my batch of like 200 people or something,
Okay,
right?
they were girls.
3,
Okay.
4 maybe, I don't remember, right? Now, of course, they're about 20%.
Yes, sir.
But all that has happened, I have been part of that change. So when I was in the ministry, we said there are too few girls in IITs, right? So they have to create additional positions for girls. So they get about at least 20% you get there, right? Okay, there were girls. But what I'm saying is people are very ill at ease, right? Across gender, right? So if those people who are not exposed to a different gender, just like they are not exposed to a different age group, right? Or a different kind of business. Like, okay, a scientist is always uncomfortable with a businessman and vice versa, right? I have no such problem. I never had any such problem. I respect whatever anybody does, as long as they are not cheating, they are ethical and legal, right? It doesn't matter if they're businessmen, if they're the professor, they're scientists. We all got a role to do in life. If we're doing it well, that's what matters. And if I can learn something from them, right? Which I cannot learn from another professor at all, right? I can only learn petty politics from another professor. Okay, which is, अरे यार, my neighbor is not doing, मैं ज़्यादा पेपर लिखूंगा, ऐसा करूंगा, रिवॉर्ड अवार्ड मिलेगा, right? Very narrow considerations about life, right? अरे मैं बोला अवार्ड नहीं मिलेगा तो क्या हो जाएगा? कुछ नहीं होगा, right? So I've seen so many people who even may deserve, let us say, this recognition or award, but they don't get it because of what I explained as luck, right? Complexity of life that we do not control. But then they become very bitter. I've seen them, they're bitter even for 10 years later. They're saying, world is so unfair, this is all cheating, these people's committees are not fair. And of course they are not fair. I mean, whoever said that world is fair? Whoever said world is fair is living in some, his own imagination. Okay? So you cannot criticize what is a reality. You can work on that reality to change it. But, first time somebody realizes, especially younger people, first time they realize the world is not fair, we are very disappointed, right? We start saying, how it is possible? World is not fair. They are not fair. They're not fair. I try to gently explain that, look, this is the nature of the world. You have discovered it now. This is why you're feeling so disappointed. Okay? But there are many times when you will be unfair. Okay? Let's look at it like this, logically. Now you have an interview or you have an award. One of you will get it. The other one will not get it. 5 more will not get it. Now, according to all these 5, the world is unfair. It's fair only according to one person. And of course, every situation, something would appear to be fair, something would appear to be unfair. By logic, this world cannot be fair to everybody in every situation, every day. Right? There's a logical impossibility, yaar. I mean, what are you saying?
Yes, sir, exactly. मतलब even जब लियोनार्डो को ऑस्कर नहीं मिल रहा था, मतलब from a long time, I used to think इसको क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है? Life is so unfair for him.
नोबेल प्राइज कितने लोगों को मिला? गांधी जी को नहीं मिला.
ऑस्कर टू लियोनार्डो डिकैप्रियो.
हाँ, ओके, वो भी है. मैं कह रहा हूँ गांधी जी को भी नहीं मिला.
यस सर.
राइट. तो किसी को मिलता है, किसी को नहीं मिलता.
I want to thank you that you have been part of that change, that you have increased the seats of girls in IITs, and still I feel it is less, sir, क्योंकि there is still so much competition in boys.
Yeah.
Even सर इसके जो रीज़न है, मतलब जो बात करें तो एक तो आप जो कह रहे थे that we need next generation of leaders in women, and दूसरा एक gender comfortability. Even when I came in first year यहाँ पे, तो I used to feel a little discomfort with girls. मतलब मेरे तो पाँव काँपते थे when I used to sit in front of girls.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. No, so of course that because you have not interacted, with diversity before, and so What I was saying is, look, you get the same discomfort level with somebody much older, somebody much younger, different gender, different age, or different geographic location, people who eat and different food and speak different language and all of that, right? This is all part of diversity, and which is why we need diversity. Why we need diversity is because in order to have a robust society, and not necessarily only an efficient, optimal society, but a robust society which is inclusive and which is diverse, because it gives different perspectives, and so you are able to pose more problems, more context, and more different kind of solutions to that. So and so it is good for economic growth, it's good for social harmony, and so on. And that is the reason that we need to have diversity and inclusion, including, let's say, girls in technical colleges. So the reasons for this is very many. This is mostly cultural, because women were not considered, for professions like engineering, for example, and so on. So therefore, parents have not been very encouraging. Teachers have not been very encouraging. They're not getting the right level playing field to get into this. But of course, we have to get into it, because the next gen of women leaders will come from here. The next gen role models will come from here. And so if we want a society which is balanced, we want a society which is able to deal with different kind of situations and problems, and it has everybody's participation, then we need to have this. And IITs, have made great progress in that direction. I was describing that in my batch of maybe 200, 250 people, there were like 3 or 4 girls. And so it was good neither for the whole batch nor for the girls, right? Because it developed all these complexes. We have 4 girls with 200 boys, right? And that too, they've not never interacted before. So therefore, there is always this ignorance about this, which then leads to boys being just, boys, so to say, right? And so there is no understanding. But anyway, it's happening now, and that's a good aspect of it. A lot more of it has to happen, no doubt. But that requires a society-wide change, and that change is always very slow, right? So while the change that is top-down, for example, saying increase the number of seats for girls in IITs, that top-down change, that is much easier. But this is not a permanent solution to the problem. So what is the permanent solution is that it comes bottom-up, okay? So that girls already have a level playing field by the time they come to school. They're able to compete with other people at their same terms, right? And then so there is no reason as to why there should not be 50% girls, unless that the pipeline was leaky, which means that not enough number of girls who are competing, for example, in certain areas like engineering, right? So one has to take care of different kind of problems that you don't have. You should have enough supply, and also the other problems, because the pipeline, even after sufficient supply, the pipeline may become leaky. What I mean by that is, you may get, let's say you have an IIT, the women, but not all of them would actually get the same job that they deserve. Or if they have a job, they may not be able to hold it because of family reasons, and because of moving around with family and having a family and so on. So there is a dropout at every stage of career. And so that is why at the top, there's a glass ceiling, and you don't see so many women. So one has to address all of these problems starting from school, cultural problems and so on. And cultural problems are best addressed by the culture of the society as a whole. Slow process, right? So while you said why not 50% we have now, the reason is this, that process of change is slow.
सर वो जो डिस्कम्फर्ट की हम बात कर रहे थे कि फॉर एग्जांपल even in India, like you can't still kiss your wife in public, or you can't hug your wife in public.
Yeah.
So
and your interaction is always seen as of sexual nature, right? So because majority have grown up like that only, right? So therefore that comfort is not there. I would like to hug all my friends, whether they are man, woman, what they are, right? But so it is for a whole lot of onlookers, this may look to be a little strange. So the point is, how do you show your affection? How do you show your bond, so to say, right? Because we have excluded this kind of friendships, right? So it becomes odd. Then, then there are jokes and there all that stuff comes from there, right? Because not being natural, so to say, right? So all these seeds are there at primary school level. And so it's a society-wide problem. And it has to be addressed at that level, which is a slow change. There is no quick fix for it, unfortunately, right? I am always very amused about this. This particular aspect to me personally is very amusing because I don't really care. I can hug women not related to me, not my sister. I can do that in public. I have no hesitation at all, right? My wife understands it, so it's no problem, okay, at all. Has zero problem. But most people are not like that. I see they are not evolved sufficiently, right? So they are still saying, this guy is Bengali, this guy is Marathi, this guy, ye hai, wo hai, pata nahi kya, right? Okay, so we don't know how to deal with diversity. Okay, we are not comfortable with it, right? Everybody, every citizen has the same rights to liberty, freedom, happiness, right? So how do we ensure this rights to different gender, to different people with different age group and so on? It requires understanding, right? So that is one aspect. Okay, then we were saying there are new challenges for your generation and beyond, which generations until now had not faced. The change, the requirement of change is urgent. There is a great deal of urgency in the way we cannot do it like we were doing 150, 30 years ago, right? Because the rise of exponential technologies. Now, there is something very strange about exponential technologies. Why? Because the human brain and society, they are structured to change linearly with a small slope. Not exponentially like this, right? So the gap between how we think of things and behave and how machine is forcing us to do, that gap keeps on going up with time. A time will come when that is start breaking down. So to fill that gap, break down, the only way is to bring machine closer to biology. Okay, there is, because the mind the way it is now will not be able to cope with it. Okay, see, I'm trying to explain everything logically, right? There is no mystery in it. It's going to happen because there is no mystery in it, because it's logical. That's why it's going to happen. It's inevitable, right? So when you don't have, okay, you'll have to outsource more and more of your intellectual stuff to machines. Today, let's say if you look at literature, technical literature, already no mind can actually understand all of it. It's just exponential, it's just explosive, right? So what are you going to do? You put another machine in charge saying that read all this literature, scan all of this, here are the stuff, you give me one-page summary to your human master, right? That is required for his understanding, right? More and more is the machine that we communicate with each other, right? And they bring all this information out. More and more machines will read. I mean, they will write and read papers that humans do now, right? All of that's going to happen. But now point we were,
Don't you think that moving toward ease of life, that we are getting away from humanity? Like for example, in our childhood, like we used to interact more with parents and all. Now we are getting alone and we are having
they have to, because parents also are controlled by machines more and more, right? So I mean, parents, only thing they are thinking about their children is not how to make them good humans. We have lost that understanding totally, unfortunately, right? All they're thinking about is, can we get them into IIT, right? So having gotten them into IIT, their purpose of life is served, is complete. Okay, now they can pass away happily. Okay, they have done their job. I mean, they got the guy good education, they send to coaching classes. They never, very few would say, If you want to get advantage in life, maybe you shouldn't cheat. I think very few people would explicitly say it anymore, right? So all those values are of course eroding, but there's a separate point. Now, the challenge actually is the human-machine interface, and more of machine will get into humans, and so that limits our choices of life, how we live. Already, as you see, as there's more technology, it limits your choices, right? Today, people cannot. I mean, I can't be away from my smartphone. I can't be away from my email. I can't be away from a whole lot of other stuff, which means in a sense they're already controlling you, right? But this is a passive control. I have left my phone now for charging for 1 hour, 2 hours, and it's gone. But once that functionality of that phone will be in your brain, you cannot get away from it anywhere, anytime, right?
सर ये सब मतलब मूवीज में ऑलरेडी वी आर सीइंग दैट मतलब
नहीं, मूवीज में तो नहीं, असली में होगा ना. ऐसा कुछ होगा जरूर होगा. Okay, you see, people may now think that this is an extreme situation, this will not happen. It will happen. Also, other kind of extreme technologies, for example, creating humans for a particular purpose, let's say using CRISPR, gene editing. Now, you may think this is very unethical. And actually, it was all there in science fiction already. Like, okay, what is that Brave New World, 1984, 82, what is the novels called, right? So you're saying you are creating humans. Suppose you want to create humans only to be soldiers, right? Well, you can do that. So there is a dumb people who will obey orders, but they have a lot of muscle mass, right? And so what is preventing is going to happen. It may even be happening. Okay, we don't know about it right now, but it may be happening with the gene editing tools that you would create humans for particular purposes. They are basically optimized for that function, right? Now you may say, okay, what is wrong? This is what we want. This is what we learn from machines to be optimal, right? We want the best design for that purpose. So therefore, there is more and more converting of people into machine and to think of people as machines. That has happened since the rise of industrial age. Okay, but now with the new technologies, it will become possible for it to be implemented with very great accuracy. Right?
Sir, don't you think that it will change the whole dynamics of world? For example, जब इतना मशीनों की तरफ जा रहे हैं तो प्रकृति also react करती है. मतलब प्रकृति tries to maintain the balance. And
हाँ, तो ह्यूमंस का कोई सिग्निफिकेंस बहुत ज़्यादा है नहीं प्लेनेट अर्थ पर. ये हमने खुद ही बना लिया है. ओके, मतलब it's a very unique species, humans, right? They know this. So this is a next stage of evolution. All that is very good. Whole point is now, what do we do with this evolution which is happening? एक तो वो biological evolution था, वो तो millions of years में होता है. But now जो evolution हो रहा है, वो mind के through mind में हो रहा है evolution. And evolution, revolution, whatever, and through technology, right? So now your basic mind is not changing, but technology is changing. वो मैं कहा था कि society and individual mind, they change linearly with a small slope, and technology is going like this, and this gap is increasing. So deal with that, you would have to have other technological fixes which fuse the machine with the humans. Right? Cyborg. I'm not talking about fantasy, right? Small is incremental steps. Let us think about, let's say, one small chip, harmless, which sits in your brain, and it gives you a lot of advantage with your competition. It's just like coaching classes, right? Once there is a coaching class, parents don't have option. All of them have to send their children to coaching class, right? So it is the same thing with this little chip. It gives you advantage. So everybody, when we call it rat race, this is what it means. Okay, that all rats must be equipped with the same machine mechanism, right? So as soon as this is a little successful, everybody will have to fall in line. So it will go like wildfire, right? And so whether it is designer babies, whether it's making humans that function in a particular way, giving those advantages to your offsprings through machine or through DNA editing, right? All this is going to happen. So it's a challenge. Second challenge I talked about is climate change, is about environment, it's about global warming. A lot of people think that technology will fix this problem. Actually, it's not a problem of technology. So what technology fixes is the efficiency of consumption, which means per GDP, how much emission. But GDP keeps on increasing. Right? For every nation, even those people who may have 5 cars per family now, they still want new car. Right? Otherwise, they'll say there is no economic growth. Right? And where would economic growth come from when the population of young people is declining? Right? Many countries. But they also want economic growth. Now tell me, where would it come from? It will only come from per capita consumption going up and per capita production going up, which means you are dependent on machines for production, per capita production, because people are not there, right? And so now you say, how do I produce more? How do I consume more? Some of it I produce and sell to other countries which have more population like India and so on, right? So nobody is ever saying, look, we don't need growth. I mean, have we questioned the fact that we need growth all the time? Right? So since growth is more than the efficiency of technology, you'll always have more emission. It is fairly clear. All our green technologies in the last 20, 30 years have not slowed down emissions. Emissions keep going up, right? And you somehow people hope that somebody up there in heaven or some president will take care of it. Or we have this explicit faith in technological solutions, but we are not willing to change ourselves.
So even nowadays people are talking about multiplanetary life.
There. Fantasy.
So do you think it would be possible someday?
No, it may be possible. The whole point is, when you have such a wonderful functioning planet, you want to first destroy this and then go somewhere else where there is nothing. Right? This is only a lunatic will think of this as a solution. Of course, interplanetary travel and all that is perfectly fine. You can go do something, but this is not a solution to destruction of your planet.
Sir, exactly. A few days back, I went to Ayodhya, Banaras, Prayagraj, and I saw कि मतलब वहाँ संगम ही सूख गया है. Like
हाँ, नदी तो सभी सूख गई. They know it's a real river.
And in Indian culture, मतलब we used to like हम प्रकृति पूजा करने वाला जो था कि like you used to कि पेड़ों की पूजा करना and प्रकृति पूजा करना. This used to be our culture.
हाँ, but it's not about puja. It's about respect, which means that you will not just like that cut down a tree. But that's what the rest of the world has done through technology. So get very, very big tractors, saw chain, and in one day, I mean, thousands of acres of rainforest is gone. Let's say Amazon rainforest, whatever, right? We made our laws. I mean, society said we want progress, we want growth, we want. What do? Right? So you do it like that. So it's not about only puja. Basically, simply means that you have respect, and you're going to say, "I'm not going to cut down people just like that," right? But a Western man will not think twice about it. He's only counting the money that he would make with it, right? So that value system has changed totally, and exactly what I was saying. Look, the fix for this problem is not only technology. Technology will do its work. I mean, I'm not saying that you should not have good, clean technology. Of course, you should have clean and green technology. But is that sufficient? This is what we need to deeply probe and see, is that sufficient? Is maybe necessary, but is that a sufficient condition to prevent global warming? So we need to think very hard and fast. That's why I'm saying urgency for change, right? Urgency for change is already temperature is going up more than we figured it would. okay, and it would not stop, right? So that is happening now. So these are the challenges. These are challenges of future and present, and they are clear and present problems and challenges, right? But the point is that there's not sufficient thinking, not sufficient understanding. Where would it come from? It would come from younger people whose lives is going to affect in a significant way, fundamentally. Okay, not superficially. It has affected my generation and before that in a superficial way. But it becomes more fundamental when you're saying that your choices as human get restricted, are constrained by technology, right? So that becomes a very serious business. Okay, and so the other thing I was saying then, that there are three ways of solving a problem. Perhaps we didn't capture that, right? Three ways of solving a problem is called Jugaad, Dhanda, and Panga. We need understanding of all three modes of solutions and a balance between them in order for society to progress. Jugaad, actually, we believed a lot in it for many decades in India. Jugaad is not an universally acceptable solution, is not optimal and often not scalable. But still, it has some value in solving an immediate problem for today. Die another day, as they say, right? Then Dhanda is doing things in the continuity of doing things in a stable way. And so society demands that 80% of stuff is like that, right? 2% growth, 5% growth, incremental changes, basically. Then there is Panga, which is disruptive change. And sometimes we have to, because problem is too huge and it requires a totally different way of thinking and different solution. Because we know that the solutions we have been pursuing are not working. Let's say climate change, right? So we know that down this path is not a solution, right? We may feel good about it for a few more decades and saying we are doing everything, we are making these agreements, we are doing diplomacy, we are doing all this, right? So, but we know that Dhanda will not solve this problem. Dhanda will not solve a whole lot of problems or challenges that we are going to face now. Have started to face and will continue to face for all foreseeable future. So then there's the role for creative solutions, or even saying, look, basically examining the very fundamental assumptions that we have taken for granted. We're saying it's like this, that life is about technology and consumption. Okay, that nobody ever now challenges that assumption anymore, right? Because we have lost touch with the internal of the mind, right? And more remote, you become with more and more technology, you become more and more remote with yourself, right? So how, so that is the challenge. Challenge is to balance the internal world with the external world of technology. Because after all, the external world has to be governed by internal world, not vice versa. Now it's happening more and more vice versa. The technology dictating for you how to think, right? So therefore, when one of these things gains prominence and control, is a recipe for disaster. Even where it's only internal world. Suppose you are, the whole world becomes only a yogi, right? It would be an equal disaster as having only technology-driven solutions, right? So it requires a balance by understanding of both the internal and external and their interaction, right? About how this thing is determined by what. So that is okay. So this is what we talked about. Now we talk about diversity, inclusion, why that's important, and that we have to work on it. Second thing, what are the immediate challenges of humanity at large? Okay, and the nature of those challenges is so different from from earlier industrial revolutions. If we can very quickly recap what the industrial revolutions were, there was Industry Zero. Industry Zero simply was muscle power. Okay, so and you have a barbarian, you just march in somewhere You cut people down, you take their property, and that's the basis of Industry Zero, which was prevalent for a very long time in the history. Then came the steam engine, the steam power, right? And steam power means the centralized means of production, which people were doing with hand. Then came Industry 2, which is the rise of electric power, which means things start happening at home. They are no longer only in big, centralized industry. They start, everything comes in home, right? Then there's the Industry 3, which happened in our lifetimes, which means rise of digital, passive digital, and communication and digital technologies, right? Industry 4.0, the convergence between digital, cyber on one hand and physical on the other hand. And the evolution beyond this would bring in the biological element, right? So this triad of biological, digital, and physical, right, would define the future of humanity. And so that's the challenge, to understand that challenge and what it would actually mean for every aspect of being human and its activities. Okay, so then we talked about this, What was the third thing you want to talk about?
Your religious beliefs and all.
So I have no what you call religious belief, because religious belief actually is not what I call the internal technology of the mind, right?
इससे पहले सबसे पहले do you believe in God? Like
no, it's an absurd question. Okay. Like many of the questions that we ask, which have no meaning. Like when I said, people say, "Oh, is this life better? That life better?" Right? That's an absurd question. In fact, sustainable development is an oxymoron. It's an absurd question, because there is no sustainability and development together. Okay, so we're just fooling ourselves, right? Now, this is a question that you pose now. This is not a simple thing which can be answered in yes or no. This is a question that from the dawn of humanity, people are asking. And they all have many different answers to this, right? But if you examine all those answers, they are absurd. Okay? They are answers because people want to believe in something. Okay? And they don't know anything. They say, हमारे गुरु ने बोला है, हमारी किताब ने बोला है. Point is, first thing is, you cannot ask meaningfully a question about something that you have not defined. Okay, so when you say, do you believe in God? What is this God that you're talking about, right? So, do I believe in God has no meaning at all unless you know what God actually to you means, right? There is a God in some religion which is a creator. There is some God which is believed to maintain all of this. There is some God which destroys everything. There is a God which takes care of it. No, it has a book of karmas of all of you, right? There is a God which listens to devotees. There is a God which gives you fruits. I mean, you say if you do the right kind of worship, then it can give you something, right? That's a God. There is a God which is all pervasive. There is a God which knows everything. There is a God of Rig Veda. There is a God of Bible. There is a God which looks like human, in different forms of human. There is a God which looks like animal. There is a God which may not have any form at all. The formless God, right? There are gods that have powers. There are gods which don't have power.
Sir, what are your beliefs?
I have no belief. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You see, belief is a very dangerous thing. Belief is a very dangerous thing because while mind wants to believe in something, if it doesn't believe in God, it will believe in some ism, which is also a God, right? So I may believe in left, I may believe in right, I may believe in a certain kind of democracy, I may believe in, and for that belief, we are willing to kill. But what is the basis for that belief? If you ask them, they'll have no answer for it, right? I may believe in something, my nation, I may believe in my family, right? all of that, and I have some belief, isn't it? I mean, God is one of those things, beliefs, which is very fundamental to human mind, which is basically means something transcendental. The most fundamental concept of God is something which is little transcendental, right? Is it the universe is God, or the laws of universe are God, or what is God, right? So I think this is a question that one must approach with delicacy that it deserves. It should not be a brute force question about do you believe in God, right? I mean, and now if somebody says yes or no, it means nothing. It means zilch. There is no information content in that belief, right? So, okay, so if you see, I have no belief, first of all, okay, either in God or any abstract thing, okay? So what is it you say, can one live without belief? Why do you need to have belief to live? You need belief only to kill. Okay, you don't need belief to live, right? So now I think more important question is this: is there something in mind which is not just greedy? Is there something in mind which is not just evil? Mostly you see that people may hide it, okay, but basically all this stuff that you see, no chaos that you see around, that is there. And so people postulate God as an opposite of evil, right? But you see, the question that you're asking, the question that I'm trying to answer, that God is created by mind. Okay, it's a creation of mind. Okay, I'm not saying where there is a God which is not creation of mind. I cannot answer that question because I only have access to mind. I don't have access to anything beyond mind. So this is a very delicate question which is not to be taken lightly at all, right? This is an ultimate question because everybody has been asking it from the dawn of mind, right? And most of the answers are funny. Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, they don't convince me. They should not convince anybody who is thinking person. Then what happens is this: mind always wants certainty. So he says, so tell me the answer to this question, right? Is it there or is it not there, right? Now we are asking an absurd question because this question cannot be answered. The God that we are talking about, only thing I can tell you is the God we are talking about is the creation of mind, of human mind. That is so obvious because why they all have different shapes and they look like the latest film star, right? As the body proportions change, if you look like Hema Malini, then the goddess start looking like Hema Malini, right? And all of that. So you see, the God that we are talking about, the humans talk about, those gods are creation of mind. And there is nothing wrong with it. By the way, having said it, I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean that, of course, mind itself has powers. The mind itself has, it is the highest product of evolution that has happened in the universe, right? So I'm not trying to say it has no significance, right? But it has created gods. The whole idea about asking whether there is a God or not a God is not a question that can be answered, right? And so I'm saying that what you're really asking is that, of course, it's clear that the gods that we are talking about are creation of thought. So what you're really asking is there an entity which is not put together by thought? Is there something beyond human thought? Right? So that is a question which cannot be answered by mind.
Sir, but actually in India, what we have seen is ki like the people are so connected to it, like the idea of going to temple and lakhs of people crying there and
that's okay.
Like doing puja.
That is a different meaning. So the question that you ask is at what level? Okay, see, a lot of things are operational meaning. Okay, operational meaning, but they don't have fundamental philosophical meaning. Okay, operational meaning I understand. They may go, they see, after all, you go to a psychiatrist also and get cured, right? So there is no problem. But also let's realize that the temples actually, temples were not, see, the whole question of religion, for example, as is understood today, that is only a modern concept of religion. The religion is not a particular book or your belief in that particular book or a particular God. That's not religion, right? A religion, in its true sense, as was in India, is actually the questioning, the search, right? It has nothing to do with. It's not a final product, right? Which is because you start saying, "What is your belief?" Right? I have no belief, right? In the sense of that, in sense in which you are talking about, do you believe in God? Do you believe in a book? Do you believe in a prophet? Right? That is a very modern sense of what is called religion. Religion is, so one should not, one becomes confused when saying religion, because religion is about search. It is not a product, right? So it is a method of searching. It's not something which is put together by mind. Similarly, temples that you're talking about, people today go to temple because they want something from God. Okay. So they say, हाँ हाथ जोड़ के करेंगे पूजा, आप प्लीज मेरे को कुछ पैसे दे देना, एग्जाम पास करा देना, right? That has become this is how people understand the purpose of religion and temples, right? Temples are not that. See, temple was not created for this purpose at all, right? So temple is part of that search, okay, of things which are not of mind. So now this is difficult to explain, okay, because this will not lead to anything tangible which I can convey to you.
Sir, do you believe that science can make religion better? Or many people talk about their religion being scientific. So
I have no understanding of what it means. See, I mean, science making religion better. Do you want to make religion better? In what way do you want to make religion better?
So in some sense, for example, the many things that like every religion is not perfect. Like for example, many people talk that Hinduism has more tolerance, or the way like Hinduism is a way of life. So do you believe that science can make religion better?
You see, there is also a thing called scientific temper.
Okay.
Right? How do we make science better, first of all? Forget about religion.
Okay.
Okay. So this is often forgotten by scientists.
Okay.
So when we talk about scientific temper, people are saying, oh, there are no miracles, and there is no magic, all this, there is no God or the stuff, right? So this is called scientific temper in scientific community, and we say we should develop scientific temper. I have thought very deeply about this because there are even programs in government to develop scientific temper in general population. So first we must define what is scientific temper. If I don't know that, then what is it I'm trying to inculcate, right? Of course, that we don't believe in miracles and all that is a part of scientific temper. Scientific temper basically has two aspects. One is rational, evidence-based, data-based analysis, which is not self-centered. Dispassionate, independent analysis based on data, evidence, blah, 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 and the known laws of nature and so on, right? Second aspect, which is often forgotten, is having done the analysis, to act on that analysis, right? So scientific temper, it consists of also that suppose I am chairman of an interview board. Now I've done the analysis on each candidate and I know who the best candidate is. That is scientific temper, part one. As soon as my nephew or niece walks in there, I lose all my scientific temper, right? I cannot act on my analysis. So society works like that. So while we all scientists pretend to have scientific temper, actually we don't have it, right? And so even so, while most of us have it in the lab, scientific temper, right? Even there is data manipulation, there is some politics, there is, I mean, exaggerating your achievements and so on, right? Which may not be scientific temper, right? Also becoming very greedy about, hey, let's write more papers, get this award, all that stuff, right? So there is some, but at least there is some scientific temper in the lab. But outside of lab, the same scientist totally loses scientific temper. Okay, so then it becomes totally self-centered. It's not based on evidence. It's not based on data. It's not. I see. I remember a long time ago. There was this thing rumor going around very strong that Ganesha or Shiva are drinking milk. How old were you when that was happened?
Sir, I was in 6th or 7th maybe.
Right, you were there. You remember, right?
Yes.
Okay. None of our scientists or professor here question that, right? So we may be scientists, but I wanted to investigate. So I went to this temple, Shiva temple, old Shiva temple. There's a very big line there. Everybody coming with milk and they're pouring milk there. Now my turn comes. So I want to investigate where is this milk going. So I put a little bit, hey, have I seen it going somewhere? By the time the guy standing behind me, a senior professor, is getting very impatient. He's saying, no, it's clear, it's drinking. See, what I'm doing, please do go. Let me do it, right? Right? So, it's very funny. You see, forget about religion and God. I am talking about science first. So, if a person, a scientist, is not able to inculcate scientific temper in himself or herself, the same thing, then, he also believes in many different things, okay, and so on. Belief is not a good thing, okay. Belief, okay, sometimes because you cannot do it yourself, then you have some belief in authority, but that belief is only for technical things. When it is something existential, you should not have a belief about it. You must have experience. Right? So, okay, I mean, I'm not saying that if you want to make a rocket, I should not believe in what is in the textbook. That's a different kind of thing with a technical knowledge, right? But something like belief in God, there is no technical book that will prove it or disprove it either way, right? So it is a purely a construct of human mind, right? The real question to ask is to understand the nature of human mind. Once you understood the nature of mind, then maybe you can ask the question about God. But people don't understand actually who I am without asking about who God is, right? So because it's the mind which is asking this question, it is a mind which has constructed many images of God or no image of God. It may be a formless God, or it may be whatever it is that you believe in. But is that what you are asking? Right? That is the thing to ask is, do I understand my mind? And it's not my mind, by the way. Everybody's mind is the same. Now you may say that most people revolt to this idea very strongly. When I say your mind is same as mine, what do I mean? Of course, our conditioning and our skills and our technical knowledge are different. But the fact that both our minds have fear, both our minds have greed, both of these minds have both positive and negative traits which are universal. Right? We are all seeking something. We are seeking happiness, fulfillment. So therefore, there is a universality of mind, and there are also the different specifics which are different, which are outer layers, right? As to what degree I have received, what education I have received, and so on, right? So now when you say understand mind, it means to understand actually the universal mind. So therefore, when you understand universal mind, it's not a matter of belief. It is not, you cannot even condemn anybody because his mind is same as your mind. It is, somebody say, hey, let's, somebody who has not sinned throw the first stone. What does it mean? It means this only. Okay, it means that I have empathy. I understand that there is no sinner. Because of ignorance, people do some things, right? And maybe in the same situation, I would have done the same thing. If I had the same conditioning, if I had the same education, socio-economic background, right? How my mind is different from this guy's mind? Nothing, no difference, right? So, okay, now this question about whether there is God or not, this cannot be answered even in 1 century if 1 million people thought about it. It's not because inherently, fundamentally, this question is not answerable by mind. Okay, whatever that entity is, our thought, right? Because we think many different things. Okay, I have so many gods here. You see, every single thing here is a god. Is a representation of what I think is a god, right? This is a holy symbol. That's a holy symbol. Let's say by different sects and religions, there are different holy symbols, right? There's himself, Buddha himself sitting there. You see, fasting Buddha because he has no belly, right? So it's a fasting Buddha and all of that. So it's an incredibly complex subject which we must approach, as I said, with some reverence and understanding. When you would truly discuss this subject, you will see that the atmosphere in the room will change. And it's also true if you truly discuss the nature of evil, it will change, right? So if you inculcate thoughts of evil, the thoughts produce all of this, right? Whether it's a temple, it's a religion, all of that is controlled by thought. But the nature of thought itself is not controllable.
So everything is here.
Everything is here. No, this is only a physical apparatus.
Okay.
Everything is not here. Okay, distributed. Okay, so when you are not there, I am not there, thought will still be there.
Okay.
Right? Thought is immortal. We are not. We are like, yeah. It's like, okay, electromagnetic waves are always there. And there is a radio. Okay, the radio catches some of it. Right? That radio may not be there. There may be another radio. The nature of all of them is the same. Okay. So thought is like that.
Sir, okay, one last thing which I would like to ask you is what advice you मतलब अगर आप 20 साल वाले आशुतोष कुछ एडवाइस करना चाहें, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इट इज लाइक एडवाइजिंग टू यंगर जनरेशन, तो 20 साल वाले आशुतोष को क्या एडवाइस करेंगे अबाउट लाइफ एंड
My advice is still the same as what I'll give now or give that. Is saying be your own man, be without prejudices, respect people for who they are, right? Live long and prosper. Right? Okay. And do it in a gentle, kinder way. Okay, we don't always have to be, let's go kill this guy. Right? So, develop some equanimity. Okay, don't get too happy if things are going your way. Don't get depressed if they're not going your way. Right? This is a very old philosophy, but I don't mean it in terms of philosophy only. This stoicism, right? We say, consider world to be with some degree of equalness, right? There are no true enemies or friends also in this world, right? It's self, the self-interest of people drives them at different times to different directions. It would be a mistake to consider somebody to be a permanent enemy or friend. Okay, don't get disappointed, basically. Remember the dialogue from Godfather, it's not personal. Right? Okay. It's not personal. You see, who cares who Ashutosh or you, anybody, right? It's not personal. They want something from me. If I cannot give it to them, they would be unhappy. If I gave it to them, one of the two things will happen. either they will say I'm a good man, but after a while, they will forget that and they will also start saying something against me. This is empirical knowledge, I'm telling you, right? In fact, more you would help people, at some point they will turn against you. Okay, this is very simple. It looks contradictory, it looks paradoxical, but it's not. What is the reason for it? See, nobody wants to believe that their success is because of somebody else.
Okay.
They say, look, I'm successful because I'm great, I'm intelligent, I'm such and such, and so on, right? Every failure is ascribed to something else, to the God, to parents, to teacher, to everybody, right? But every success is ascribed only to yourself. So what happens is, okay, if you go out of your way to keep helping somebody, some point will come when he must turn around and deny the fact that his success partly is because of somebody else's contribution, right? So now, you see, again, it's getting a little complicated, but you want some simple messages. And the simple message is, just don't worry about, be diverse. First of all, let's conclude. Okay. Respect and understand diversity. Then you will never be disappointed. Okay. And then you would be able to learn and you will be able to deal with situations which are different than the ones you have encountered. And be prepared for change. It comes partly by negotiating diversity and understanding diversity. Be ready for change, and especially this generation, so be totally ready for change. Okay, which means you cannot just have a belief in something. Belief is an enemy of change, right? Because I believed my generation was the greatest. I cannot change, right? I cannot learn from others. I cannot see the absurdity of my ways, right? So what do you say? And finally, look, there is one life to live. Live it well. Live it with some, you must have some convictions, which is not same as belief. Okay, it means that you have figured it out. Like I said, I wanted to be a teacher, right? It's not a belief. Okay, it is something you live by, you see what you thought. Okay, it should be legal, it should be ethical, and it should be conducive for other people, right? I mean, after all, we don't live only for ourselves. We say, acha, we also help other people, right?
Okay. So, that's all for today. Thank you so much, sir, for coming and sharing your views, your experiences.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Because when we discuss, then only you think about things, right? Then new thoughts will come only by discussion. They cannot come if you're sitting alone, right?
Yes, sir.
So more you discuss, more questions you would ask, it will also give me new insights.
Okay, sir, thank you so much
Thank you indeed
for coming.